after a week off for spring break for us, there's now going to be a month off from Formula One, tragically. Kimi Antonelli wins the Japanese Grand Prix, followed by Oscar Piastri and Charles Leclerc. And we have one of the worst crashes we've seen in a long time. Welcome back to the 305K. It's good to be back after, as I mentioned, a short break. I think we get right into the Ollie Bearman crash because that was what 50 G's, I
Yeah,
think. That's like
50G. And I
Max
think,
Silverstone level.
yeah. Well, and it's unfortunate because it's one that I think is pretty avoidable. And obviously, discussions have been going on since the start of the season about these new regs. And I think that there's a lot of concern about the battery saving in terms of the racing, and in terms of the enjoyment and how the drivers are kind of have to maneuver excuse me, they have to maneuver their cars to get the maximum amount of battery rather than just the maximum amount of pace, which is something you don't really want to see as a fan. But I think there is a definitive line right now when it comes to it endangering the drivers. And I think that was the first time we really saw that clearly.
Yeah, I agree. That corner is such a kind of interesting corner because like if you really go for it, you can get an overtake. But
Hmm.
like with the new regs, it's a point potentially for battery saving as well before you go into this big corner where you're saving battery, and you just see a car slowing down, and then Bearman just trying to make an overtake, and he's going way too fast, and it just
Yeah. Well,
I
there's
don't
a
know.
huge speed difference there. And the thing about Spoon is that it's not a place where you usually see crashes. I think that was the first thing on the broadcast they said was that, it's a weird spot for a crash. He's going into a long sweeping left-hander. And it was just the overspeed that he had compared to Franco, who was just totally battery saving because he wanted to have, the maximum amount of ERS deployment into the straight into 130R. So it's really a situation where that difference in speed is extremely dangerous. I mean, if you're, anyone who drives know that like if you're driving 70 miles per hour and you come around a corner and there's someone parked there, that's going to be a huge issue. You know what I mean? Like that's something that's written into the regulations that caused this. You know what I mean? It's something that's very
Yeah,
avoidable and kind of was manufactured this year by the new battery regulations.
yeah, I think they're gonna need to find some change, and they have a bit of time to do it right now, honestly. But like this cannot happen. That I mean, you saw Bearman was like limping out of the car. You don't see that a lot
Yeah.
coming out of crashes. Like this was a very serious and what could be the worst crash of the year by the end of the year. Like it's probably a
Yeah.
serious candidate for that. It's dangerous. That's kind of the
Yeah.
bottom line. And it gets to a level of this can maybe be fixed, and there has to be something to figure it out about it, I think.
Yeah, and I think they have, like you said, a lot of time to address it. They have announced already that there's going to be a meeting to talk about it. And I think the bottom line is that it's just really avoidable to me. Like that's the big thing is it's not something
Yeah.
that's an issue that's always been present. It's been something that's present this year.
Yeah.
With the difference in speeds, lifting off the throttle even if you're on a straight. That's not something that we usually see.
Mhm.
So hopefully it gets addressed. And obviously we're not super technical, but it just seems to me like the regulations have placed so much focus on battery deployment with the kind of push to pass system,
Yeah.
that it leads to battery being so much more important, and leads to all this battery saving that we didn't really expect at all. So I think there needs to be some amount of restriction on how much battery you can save, and maybe some amount of restriction on how much battery can be generated through, lifting off the throttle.
Yeah, I just think there needs to be tweaks because I think it can work, but at the moment, I'm not the big like I liked all the overtakes, but it just feels like it's this on this straight, but he's gonna get him back. It's just
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want there to be like a little level of well, maybe because he made a really good overtake, he's gonna have an advantage, and it just feels like at the moment there's nothing like that, frankly.
yeah. And the thing that really concerns me is that obviously, like you said, it's great to see overtakes. We didn't see very many overtakes on this track last year. Same thing with Australia, in my opinion. But it seems like they're almost manufactured overtakes. And it's something that's weird because I was noticing in China, especially with the very long back straight, drivers to get onto that back straight and be 7, 8 tenths down and be able to make that up if they had enough battery. That's something that you don't really see. Last year, you watched the races, and to make an overtake, you had to be within 4 tenths based on, prolonged good pace.
Hmm.
And it concerns me that it feels more random than that. It feels like a driver can put in one really good lap, and get close to someone and be able to, shoot an overtake by. And then if they have the right amount of battery at the right time, they can kind of just sit in front of that car and frustrate it. That's what I saw with Lewis and Charles Leclerc. And obviously, I'm a Ferrari fan, so that kind of benefits my team. But they did a really good job of just having worse pace, but knowing when to put that battery in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Holding them up into the triangle chicane and then just deploying all their battery on the straight to just barely stay ahead.
Yeah, I think that's kind of when the racecraft comes in because if you want to put it that way, there is a strategy to knowing how to use the cars and it benefits them, plain and simple. I think we should
Hmm.
move on a little bit. Kimmy wins the race. I mean, it's funny. He's kind of like an Oscar Piastri start from last year. His teammate who's like kind of known as the better driver, if you want to call it that. Um, or at least, I
Hmm.
don't know what better, more popular, but like, I guess bigger name, plain and simple. But
Yeah.
anyways,
Oh, and
they
more
win their first
experience.
race. Like Norris won it last year. Russell wins Australia this year. But all of a sudden, the young guys, being Oscar and Kimmy, have won. It's just a very similar start, winning China and Japan. Um,
Hmm.
and we know
Well,
how
to be
Oscar's
fair,
season went.
Oscar didn't win Japan last year, but I
Oh,
digress. Yeah, it was Max. But he maintained the championship lead through it, and I think that it is really interesting because once again, underdog out of the teammates is kind of saving the championship storyline for me. If Russell
yeah,
was coming out of Japan having won the first three races, call off the season kind of thing.
yeah,
Um, I must say that for all the arguments that people make about George Russell and Charles Leclerc, I think this race to me put it to bed. I mean, like
yeah,
literally, Charles has never had a prolonged period with the fastest car. Um, and he is still like definitively in my eyes the second best driver on the grid right now, behind Max Verstappen. And Max Verstappen was in the dumps right now because of that car. And by next season, it could be that he's
Ooh.
not even on the grid. And we talked about that last episode, but I think that the performance that Shaw put on, finishing in front of that Mercedes car, that rocket ship, with the defense that he made, the moves that he made, it was really unbelievable. And that was kind of the shining light of this race to me. As a
Yeah,
Ferrari fan, obviously strategy didn't play out the way we wanted it with Shaw just because of the safety car and stuff, but he managed to fight back and outperform a guy in a car that's probably like miles better than the Ferrari right now.
yeah,
I mean, Ferrari, I think, have the third fastest car in the grid. The grid based on that race.
yeah, yeah. I'd agree with that. Yeah, it's impressive and kind of annoying as a Mercedes fan to just see Russell get like outclassed, plain and simple. But
Hmm.
we're still leading the championship, so I guess I can't complain too much. That being said, I think like even Russell off the line was just horrendous. That car is not good off the
Yeah.
line. I
Well,
keep
and Kimmy was
seeing,
even worse.
yeah, I mean, it's just it's not a good look. That being said, the pace in the car is some usually able to make up for it. Um,
Hmm.
but I don't know. I think it's funny. George got absolutely fried on Twitter after the race, and I mean, it's funny because at the beginning of the year there was a Pierre Gasly edit basically saying like like basically if you were
Yeah,
getting put
from
to this
Qatar
edit
a few
you
years
you
ago.
suck, yeah. And they made a Russell one after this race, and they're using this like Arvid Lindblad edit to signify Pierre Gasly, which apparently means he's good. Speaking of him,
This
he
is
had a good
unbelievable
race.
because no one will understand what we're talking about.
No, no one. I mean, no one. It's. I should put the edit. It's such a funny edit. I might have to try
It's
to
such
see if
a,
I can
yeah.
edit it.
I mean, it's
Um,
unbelievable. It's not like being put to March Madness and stuff like that. It's really funny.
it's hilarious.
Yeah, I
He
must
did.
admit that. No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say he had a great race. I mean, P7.
Mm,
The
yeah.
Alpine looks good. They're tied with the Red Bull for P5 in the constructors right now. Haas is P4. I mean, the young, not the young guys, but like the midfield is really stepping up at the beginning of this year. Um,
Yeah. I mean, Alpine have looked really great. And, even Franco Colapinto looks like he could get a point, which is kind of impressive. I don't know why I picked him for prize points. I
the
think you give him the
that was
Mercedes, he'd still finish P13.
that
But
just wasn't your best move.
wasn't my best move. I did it last year once too, and I regretted it immediately.
Yeah, you
So
mentioned that.
yeah, I must say I don't know about you, but I'm not a real purist. I was away when this race happened, so I kind of watched it on demand.
I
Um,
was able to watch it live because I was in the Pacific time zone.
oh, you're lucky. I was on a trip and I was, it was a midnight race. I was
To it.
exhausted.
Yep.
I must say that I had it spoiled before I finished watching it. And it got the back half of this race, I don't think really provided that much, at least in
No.
my opinion. Obviously, Leclerc had a really good uh, fight with Russell. He kind of outclassed him.
Yeah.
It just feels like everything's somewhat formulaic. And I think that yes, we've seen
Yeah.
more overtakes, but at the same time, it has the same taste as the races last year, where it felt like whoever's in this position is kind of staying in this position based on their car pace. And even if, you know, Hamilton dumped all his battery down the straight and got past Russell,
Russell's
it's
coming
only
right
going to be
back.
for about a lap because he's coming right
Yeah.
back. So I don't, I've kind of lost the love I had for these regulations in the first couple races because the overtakes.
Yeah.
And it's not helped by the fact that Ferrari are sitting P3 in the or like look the third fastest after that race. So I don't know. I think that there needs to be something done a little bit
Yeah.
over the break about the battery deployment.
Yeah. I think if there's anything, we'll make an episode on it because I mean we have a month off right now. We're gonna be
Yeah,
just we got to figure out what we're gonna do.
we're gonna be
Maybe
running on fumes in terms of episode ideas.
yeah, maybe we'll do some like other like types of racing because this is 305K, a racing podcast.
Hmm.
You, you can talk some whack or I don't know NASCAR. I sometimes tune into NASCAR.
NASCAR. I was
Uh,
um I was down when I was, when the race happened, the next day I was sitting there down in Florida and a NASCAR race was on in this like pub and like literally everyone, all the Floridians were plastered just watching this race fixated. And I was like, wow, this might be the optimal state to actually watch NASCAR because I've never found a NASCAR race interesting personally.
oh my gosh,
Just
I
because I
wish
think
we'd
it's
have
kind of
jumped in.
like what we have now, which is just overtake, pass, pass, repass, repass. There's no like
There's
struggle to
like
get a pass done if you're close.
no. No, there's some good
That's
crashes
neither
in
here
there
nor
though. I
there
won't
though.
lie. Yeah, well, if we do another episode, we'll dive deep into NASCAR and just the everything around it because that could be fun. Um,
Hmm. Speaking of
but
going deep into something, this is kind of way back in our history. This is where we recorded the first episode for me. And I have
really,
not been back since. It's a very interesting room, actually.
I was
We've got
wondering what
like a little
room that
painting over
was.
here. This is an office, actually. A lot of work gets done here. But I think this
Hmm.
is painting made with like elephant poop paper, something like that. I don't know. Fun stuff.
Well, I mean, you can already see we're losing our minds when we get into the
Yeah,
break.
we're meandering at this point.
Yeah, I feel like we might as well call it here. Thank you. I mean, Japan is fine. Like Russell got
It was
outclassed,
whatever.
a big
Hmm.
crash. That's kind of
Kimmy's bringing some headlines, which I
Kimmy's
called
bringing
2 weeks
some.
ago.
Yep.
I'm gonna remember that.
And yet you decided to steal my George Russell pick, and it ended up benefiting me. So
Yeah.
not
Oh
great.
well. And then I picked
So we
Franco
got
Colapinto. Number one mistake.
yeah, that was not a great prediction week from you, but it's
It's
okay.
like calling
I'm sure you'll catch.
Hajar Bearman big flop. Just not a good idea.
No, no.
Oh
Um,
well.
we got Miami in a month. That preview might get recorded in person together, so look out for that.
Hmm.
Um,
Fun stuff.
thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.